Today is October 28th, 2024, and welcome to the 412th episode of the Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. Me? My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you for joining me today. As usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, and basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. Before I get to that, though, just want to wish everybody a happy Halloween a little bit early in case you celebrate. We do. We're big on Halloween. We love costumes and spooky and horror movies and the whole thing. And I guess there's this new trend going around, which I hadn't really heard about until this year, but I guess it's been a thing. It's called trunk or treat, not trick or treat, but trunk or treat, as in the trunk of a car, or boot, I guess, for all you folks across the water there. Boot or treat kind of doesn't have the same ring to it, I guess. But anyway, so if you don't know what this is, and I didn't until recently, it's a thing where you go to a parking lot, like at a mall, or a church parking lot, or like a business parking lot, or anywhere where there's just like a bunch of space, and you park your car there, and then you open up the back of your trunk. You make sure that all the cars are pointing the same way so that the trunks are all facing the same way. And then you open up the trunk, and then you decorate the back of the trunk if you're fancy. We tried to do this, but I was really off my game this year, kind of low energy. So we just had a couple big furry spiders. We didn't do a big thing. But you decorate the back of the trunk, and then you put a little bowl of candy in there, and you dress up like you would for Halloween. And you stand there, and then the kids come to this place, and they just kind of walk up and down the rows and collect candy there instead of going from house to house and neighborhood to neighborhood. Now, I don't exactly know how this started. I would suppose it has to do with COVID precautions. I believe it started during or sometimes after 2020 when everybody was still distancing and wearing masks. And by the way, I still am. Yes, that's true. I am. I'm still observing COVID precautions because I love my health. But I know most people aren't. And that's, whatever. You do what you need to do, and I'll do what I need to do, et cetera, et cetera. But we got together for one of these events, and everybody else that came there was also masking. We have a pretty good number of folks who are still masking here in Seattle, which is great. And so we got the kids together. Everybody had costumes, and they were so cute and all sorts of stuff. And some of the people got really fancy with their trunk decorations. One of our friends who still really loves Harry Potter, and as much as I think J.K. Rowling is a flaming piece of human shit, I didn't want to pop their bubble. I mean, I think they know, but I think they fell in love with Harry Potter before we all knew what a terrible person Rowling was. And I guess they're just separating art from the artist. So whatever, I'm not going to get into that now. I don't care. We're not going to talk about that now. But they are still a big Harry Potter fan. And so they opened the back of their trunk, and they had a bunch of like those fancy suitcases with the metal corners on them that looked all kind of rugged and beat up. They strung candles to look like it was hanging from the open trunk door, like they were floating. There were wands and potions. They made up a sorting hat that was out of like, I don't know, some kind of like material. It looked pretty good. Like it looked just kind of like the hat on the movie. And they had like this whole like this little like furry stuff. They had the house flags, Gryffindor and Slytherin and all that stuff. It was fucking awesome. I mean, putting all the rolling shit aside for just one moment, just to say the effort that this person went to decorate their trunk. I mean, regardless of whatever it was, the lengths they went to do this was very, very impressive. I think it was like the best trunk out of all the ones that were there, but it was a great time. The kids had a lot of fun. We saw a lot of friends, chatted with the other parents who were standing out there by their cars. Everybody was like blasting Halloween music, Thriller, the Monster Mash, etc., etc. And it was just cool. We got rained on and it was kind of cold, but whatever. It was fine, and it just was a great time. So that was a fun thing. I think we're probably going to do it again next year. And I guess I don't know if it's just, I mean, I've seen other people who are not respecting COVID precautions still doing it. And I guess it's just because they want an alternative to not have to walk in dark neighborhoods. Is this like a fear thing? Are we scared of neighborhoods? I guess I don't know exactly. Or maybe it's just convenient to do it in one day in one place when everything is still lit. Probably easier with the little kids. So I guess I don't know the full rationale behind it, but it was a good time. And I want to say thanks to all the friends who showed up. And I guess trunk or treat, it's a thing. So there you go. All right, folks, let's get right down to housekeeping. I've got actually quite a bit of housekeeping today. Let me check the list here. Oh, first thing, I should probably circle back to something that kind of happened last week, and I'm hoping that it's over now, but I figure it's still worth a mention anyway. Although I suppose if you're hearing me say this, it's probably solved. But last week, superfan and friend of the show, Thorsten Bush, and also J Monster, superfan as well, and also friend, emailed to say, hey, something funky's going on with Apple Podcasts. And I'm sure that other people must have noticed as well. But these were the first two to reach out. So basically what happened is I don't know. Something happened where Apple decided to delete like every single back episode of the podcast. And since we're up to, what is it, 412. So they deleted 411 episodes off of their backlog. And I think that there was also something going wrong with just how the episode was displaying, basically. I don't use Apple, so I don't really know exactly what was going on, but I could kind of log into it and see that things were definitely screwed up. So I checked the other places that we host, SoundCloud, Spotify, one or two other ones, and everything seemed fine. Like literally everywhere I checked, it seemed totally normal, totally fine, except for Apple for some reason. And again, I don't know what happened. Something happened, and I tried to get in touch with Apple support. That was a complete fucking nightmare, trying to get through all the red tape and all of like the chat bots and everything. That was just like, they just don't want to talk to you as a person, right? And I tried to email and I couldn't find the right place, and it's got, the runaround. Basically what ended up happening was I had to delete the old podcast feed and then resubmit So Video Games as a quote unquote brand new show. And once I did that, it took the most recent episode, and then apparently all of the old episodes are back, including the GameCritics.com pods episodes, and everything was there. So I guess the reason I'm saying this is, I guess if you're listening on Apple and the only thing you have in your feed is this episode and you don't have anything else and there's no back episodes, the way to fix this is to unsubscribe to the show on Apple and then search for the show, So Video Games. When it comes up, resubscribe to the newest feed, and that should fix it. So I apologize in advance for this hassle and the problem. Again, it wasn't anything that I did as far as I know, but I didn't really do anything, so I don't know how it could be me. And it was only Apple that fucked up. So I don't know what hiccuped at Apple, but something went wrong. Hopefully you didn't lose the show. Hopefully we didn't lose you as listeners. Hopefully you're listening to this right now. But just heads up, if you know or somebody else listens to the show and is wondering what the hell's going on, just blame Apple. Blame Tim Apple, and resubscribe to the show, and that should be fine. And if you listen to SoundCloud or any of the other places, Spotify, whatever, those should still be fine. But if there's any problems, please let me know. All right, let's see. A couple of exciting things to mention here. Shadow Tactics is I forget what they call it, like active strategy. It's like a subgenre of a subgenre, but it's like one of my absolute favorite kinds of games. And the developer, Me Productions, are no longer in existence. They put out a trio of incredible action strategy games, if that's the right action tactics. I can't remember, but they put out Shadow Tactics, Desperados 3, and I believe the most recent one was Shadow Gambit. That's right. 2 Shadows and a Desperados. Those games are fucking incredible, and they are second to none when it comes to this specific genre, where it's like turn-based tactics, but there's also a real-time element. And usually what you're doing in these games is you're managing multiple characters at the same time, one by one, and then you key off all of the actions at the same time so that everything happens at once, but you had enough of an opportunity to plan beforehand. So it's not like an RTS where you're like struggling to keep up with stuff. Like you can take as much time as you want, basically. But there are some turn-based elements, some real-time elements. There are some simultaneous elements. The maps are big. They're very complicated. And it's just a fucking Swiss watch of just awesomeness. I love all of the Me games, big time. But then they closed the studio after they did Shadow Gambit, and I was so heartbroken. They said that they had worked really hard on these games, and they have. They are peerless, and they were going to just like take a break. And I'm like, yo, take a vacation. Don't close your studio, but they did. So I don't know what happened. I don't know where these people went to or what. But anyway, the first one that really made the breakthrough was Shadow Tactics. That was an Asian themed, like samurai ninja kind of a thing. And it's like superb game. Played it on PlayStation. Fucking loved it. And right after it launched, they put out a DLC. One of the main characters, her name is Aiko. She is a ninja. She's got this yellow outfit. She does like a lot of stealth tactics and stuff, obviously. And they put out a whole DLC that was focused just on Ico. And I was like, oh man, super excited. But it only ever came to PC. They never brought it to console. And I was like, what the fuck? Because all their other stuff ended up coming to console. I don't know why this one didn't, but their next game came to console. All the DLC came to console. Their next game came to console. All that DLC came to console. It was literally out of their whole library. This is the only thing of theirs I haven't played. And if you can tell by the sound of my voice, I fucking love these games. And I was almost gonna break down and play it on PC, because you can play it all by itself. You do not need the main game to get into this DLC, which is great because my save is on PlayStation. So I was getting to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'll just buy it and play it because I'm such a fan. I really need to play this. But they just announced, like yesterday, that they're bringing it to console finally, which is weird because the game came out several years ago, many years ago, and the developer is no longer in existence. So who the fuck is bringing the DLC? I don't know. No idea. But I'm really glad that it is coming. So Ico's Choice is coming. It's called officially Shadow Tactics Ico's Choice, AIKO. Ico's Choice is coming to PlayStation and Xbox on December 6th of this year. And I could not be more excited. I'm going like full Kirk thinking about playing this game. I'm super psyched. So check that out. And if you haven't played any of the Me games, Desperados 3, Shadow Tactics, Shadow Gambit, those are fucking incredible. If you like XCOM or any of those like Commandos style games, you've got to check them out. They are the best of the best of the best, dude. So, okay, there you go. Shadow Tactics, Ico's Choice coming December 6th. More DLC for more great games. The Spanish Knights Couples Therapy DLC is coming for Vampire Therapist, and I am quite excited for that. I haven't talked about Vampire Therapist in a while, but it's one of the very few PC games I played this year, and I thought it was phenomenal. It starts off a little weird, but once you understand what they're doing, it's fucking great. It's about a game where you play a vampire cowboy, and he has been alive for a couple hundred years, and he wants to better himself and move on in his life, and he wants to become kind of a relationship-focused kind of vampire. He wants to help people and become the best he can be. Sounds weird, but it's funny. It's smart. It's got great graphics. It uses a lot of real-world psychology, because I've spent many years in that field. And it's just great. Vampire Therapist is absolutely one of my favorite games this year by far. And the Spanish Knights Couple Therapy is very exciting. I'm looking forward to checking that out. That drops quite soon. I, like a dum-dum, didn't write down the date when it comes out. It might already be out, but regardless, check out Spanish Knights. Check out Vampire Therapist. It's really the shit. It really, really is. More DLC. In fact, a couple more pieces of DLC announcements. I talked recently about Deathbound. One of my favorite Souls-likes of the year. Now, I get this isn't going to be a favorite of many people because it's very experimental. It's rough. The graphics are not the best. It feels a little bit like a PS3 game in some ways, technically. But I really liked it a lot. Deathbound is one that I actually took the time to finish, and I enjoyed almost every minute of it. A couple of those bosses were bastards. But I did get through the whole game, rolled credits. It was fucking amazing. And the hook of this game, in case you don't remember or don't know, is that in Deathbound, you start off as a knight, shield and sword knight. And then as you progress through the campaign, you find dead bodies of other particular people. And when you find them, their spirits inhabit your body. And you just keep adding people to your mental roster. So you start off as a knight. The next person you get, I believe, is a thief. And the third person you get is like an alchemist or a mage kind of guy. And so each person completely has different movesets. They have different stats, different abilities. So it's not just like you're switching weapons or armor. It's like you are a fully different person when you change between these characters. You eventually get 7. And there's a pretty wide array of stuff you can do. And just the mental challenge of having a completely different moveset, different stamina, different pacing as you switch between the characters was a real challenge, but one that I thought was quite well done. A lot of people have tried to do this concept before, the body switching / character switching. And frankly, none of them have done it. None of them have nailed it until Deathbound. Deathbound is the one that actually got it right. And I enjoyed the hell out of this. They're coming out with some DLC. I believe it's out today maybe. It's called Deathbound Accepted by Death. It is the very first DLC for Deathbound. It was revealed shortly. It's coming out for all the platforms that Deathbound is on: PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, PC, etc., etc. So what they're adding in this first initial go is a boss rush challenge where you must fight 5 bosses in a row: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The 5 stages of grief there. And grief is the final boss, who I think is called the Purifier. He symbolizes grief. There's also a hardcore mode where I believe that's like a one death and you're done, I'm pretty sure. There's new skins, new gear, some more lore, etc., etc. It doesn't sound like a huge expansion, but kind of just like a small expansion if you like a boss rush, you like the boss battles, and then you want to just maybe play through the game and get a little freshness there. New weapons, new skins. But regardless, not enough people played Deathbound this year. It is one of my favorites. And again, you have to be in the proper mindset, right? If you're looking for polish, AAA polish, if you're looking for the most tight and refined Souls-like out there, this is not it. I'm just being honest with you guys. It's not it. You've got to kind of accept the lumps and accept the warts. But what it does deliver is a fucking great concept and a really interesting world and a really entertaining romp if you were tired of the basic Souls-likes. I like this one quite a bit. And I don't know that I'm going to jump in this DLC. I'm pretty busy right now, especially because it's Q4 Madness. But if you haven't played Deathbound, this is absolutely the best time to do it since you'll get all the new stuff on your first time through. Next up, the Glasgow Children's Hospital Charity has revealed their first ever, or I guess the first ever in the world, Gamer in Residence, after more than £100,000 was raised through the 2023 Games for the, Weans campaign? That's probably not right. Weans, and it's probably an Irish pronunciation, so I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce Weans? It's probably something else. Sorry. But also, who else chipped in was Devolver Digital and Neon Hive. So basically, this is the first of its kind, at least in the UK and Ireland, if not the world. And what it is they pay for a guy, a gamer dude, a bro, to go to Children's Hospital, and he just plays games with all the sick kids as his job. So every sick kid who is in the hospital and wants to play some games, this kid is available to do 2-player, which is kind of awesome. If you don't know, playing games is a really great way to get your mind off of pain, whether, physical or whatnot, emotional too, I suppose. But games are pretty popular in Children's Hospital. I've spent some time in Seattle Children's Hospital for my work, and I often see kids playing games. And, they need to update their stuff. They have a lot of like old school stuff that's a little bit behind, but still fun. But the idea that there's somebody available to help them even further in taking their mind off of their pain by, having somebody to joke around with, somebody who understands the lingo, somebody who knows how to play the games that they want to play. Pretty awesome. Anything that brings these poor kids a little bit of relief in whatever ails them is A-okay by me. So I think that's a great idea. So cheers to the Glasgow Children's Hospital Charity. That's fucking awesome. All right, last bit of housekeeping this week is a story that was reported in Gizmodo last week, about the middle of the week, by a reporter named Kyle Barr. So this is all their information. Basically, they were saying that there is a law that says people cannot remotely access old defunct games that are under copyright without a license, even though they are not available for purchase. This is kind of to squash down something that people wanted to do in libraries. Some of the archiving agencies that are in support of keeping track of video game history were saying that they wanted to set up a new system, or at least expand the current system, where if a library owned a digital copy, if I understand this correctly, if a library owned a digital copy, it could use that copy of the game to function like an ebook. And so however many, virtual copies or something, they should be able to lend those out to multiple people. But basically, I'm sure there's more nuance to it. I'm just kind of skimming it. And I think there's probably a lot more to this than meets the eye. But basically, government said no, we're not going to do that. The limit currently is one person at a time per game. And there's no like digitally downloading or anything like that. You got to like actually have the game, from what I understand. The games industry motherfuckers are arguing that museums/libraries don't have appropriate safeguards to prevent users from distributing the games once they have them downloaded. They also said there is a quote unquote substantial market for older or classic games, and a new free library to access games would jeopardize the market. So basically, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. There's tons of games. And in fact, elsewhere in the article, I believe they said something. Well, let me check real quick. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so there's a pretty interesting stat here. So it says that in the beginning of the article, most of the world's video games from close to 50 years of history, so like the last, roughly 50 years, are basically dead, and you can't get them. They're kind of just being discarded, or they're lost or something. Video Games History Foundation study found You cannot buy almost 90% of games that were made before 2010. So that's a huge amount of work, a huge body of work. But let's be real about this, though, okay? People don't really want to play those games. They want to like check them out for a minute and then they want to bounce off to something new. But there's a lot to be learned there. People who are making their own games, people who are studying games, people who are learning about how genres work, how game design works, like the concepts we've had. There's a lot of knowledge here that we're basically just throwing away because somebody has a license or someone doesn't have a license or whatever. Someone doesn't want someone to play one of these games without them making a buck off it, even though there's really no buck to be made. I mean, if people really wanted to make money off these, they would be available to buy, but they're not available to buy. So what is the argument? The argument is that theoretically, at some point in the future, someone might make $1 off this, so we need to keep this knowledge out of the hands of people who might use it today? Fucking horseshit. Again, capitalism and greed stifling the arts, stifling education, stifling development of this genre, of the medium. So that's a bummer. I hope that there is continuing work. I hope we get around this. I hope we improve the way that we handle old games right now. It's insane to me that we just like basically throw this stuff away unless there's a buck to be made. And if there's no one making a buck, you should fucking give those games out. Let them be free. There should be, like whatever happens to the same thing, like when a movie or a TV show has been out for like 100 years and then it goes into the public domain, right? Like the recent Sherlock Holmes stuff or whatever. If it's been around for a while, let people have it. And I realize, of course, we haven't had 100 years of games yet. But something similar to that should be enacted because it's ridiculous that there's these games that people can't play. You can't find them. You can't buy them. And then when someone tries to get them off the ground and get them running again, someone steps in and says, no, you can't do that unless you get paid. But also, there's no way to buy these. So I can't get paid. But also, I do want to get paid, but I can't get paid. What fucking sense does that make? It makes literally no sense whatsoever. So fuck that. Fuck you. Fuck that whole thing. It's just really frustrating to see that we're really not making that much progress on treating games as a medium that has the respect it deserves, basically. So disappointing. All right, that is it for housekeeping. But before we crack into the main portion of the show, I do want to give you a heads up that there is a So Videogames Discord, which any listener is welcome to join free of charge. If you want to join up and continue the conversation, just shoot me an email and I will send you the details. Also, we do have a Patreon if you would like to support the cost of running and hosting the show. Even $1 helps. Absolutely. If you would like to chip in and help this show, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Videogames podcast. And some sexy, handsome, intelligent listener just did that. And thank you very much to Dave C., our brand newest Patreon supporter. Dave, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it, brother. Hope you're enjoying the show, and thank you for your contribution. You're going to keep the show alive. So this episode is dedicated to you, my friend. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, folks. As y'all know, I like to start the main portion of the show with circlebacks, where I circle back to things I have covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details again right now, but think of this more like a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on a game after spending time with it, for better or for worse. All right, first circleback is Shogun Showdown, which I covered pretty recently. I think maybe on the last episode. This is a 2D pixel-based roguelike with a samurai type theme. You play wandering samurai in the beginning. You can unlock some other classes, and you have it's not deck building. It's kind of like just like actions that you collect. You have a series of actions. And the thing about this one is it's very methodical and slow, which to me is cool. So you have to worry about which way you're facing, left or right. You have to worry about preparing your weapons before you use them. Then you have to worry about distance and spacing, who is going to attack next. It's all very, very methodical and very systematic, and it's also kind of small in scale, which I really appreciate. There's not a whole lot of systems that you need to learn, so basically it's just about thinking about the order of operations, who's going to do what, what's my best move here, what weapons do I have, what strategies do I like, and I'm still in the early days where I'm unlocking more and more stuff. Just unlocked the grappling hook so I can pull enemies closer. I unlocked a dodge that lets me jump through people. I think I unlocked a curse that doubles my damage that I deal. All sorts of stuff like that. So you can listen to all the details, I believe. I believe it was last episode, I think. But just as a quick circle back here, Shogun Showdown is pretty awesome. I really like it a lot. As I'm digging into it, I think it's the perfect bedtime game for me, where you can do a run pretty quickly. And full disclosure, I have not completed a run yet. I believe I've gotten all the way... I want to say past the third boss. But I'm still kind of learning the game. I'm still unlocking options and new weapons and et cetera, et cetera. So I still have a ways to go, but I'm really enjoying it. I think it's great. It's just kind of a bite size, very finely tuned roguelike, and it's very strategic. If you've got that like chess-like mind where you want to think about who's doing what and how many turns and how far can I get and what should I think about 2 turns from now, and the whole thing, like really strategically, I guess in a sense, thinking about how you would fight this battle like a samurai yourself if you were in battle. I mean, I know it probably runs a little quicker in real life, but thinking about if I can sword strike this guy, I can dodge this way, I can block this arrow over here, etc., etc. I feel like this is a pretty good digital approximation of what that must be like. Although, to be perfectly honest and transparent, I've never been a samurai and I don't know what that's like in real life. But I'm guessing. Anyway, Shogun Showdown is fucking rad. I think it's really good. And if you like roguelikes or really small strategic or tactical experiences, I think it's great. I'm playing it on the Switch. It runs great on the Switch. Looks great on the Switch. It's a very comfortable fit there. You can play it in bed very easily, which is what I do. And I think it's just the bee's knees. I really like Shogun Showdown. So thumbs up on that. My next circle back here is for Helldivers 2. I've talked about it a lot this year. Haven't talked about it lately because the developers have been kind of stumble fucking their way through things. They were nerfing like crazy. Like really to the point that they were damaging the game and damaging goodwill that had built up among the players. Just like making the weapons so weak and so ineffective and making the enemies so strong and so lethal. It just sucked all the fun out of the game. I mean, Helldivers is supposed to be a fairly difficult game to begin with, but they just fucking killed it. I don't know what their problem was, but they were just like sucking all the fun out of the game. They heard complaints as they lost like 75% of their player base, I believe. And they're like, whoa, we're making a mistake. Things are not going well. Red light, stop. And they turned it around. They just did, I think, a month of 1 buff a day to kind of get the game back into an enjoyable space. So I guess number 1, don't do that again, where you're like just fucking your game so hard that you made it so goddamn hard that even the hardcores didn't enjoy it anymore. But also kudos for turning the game around, realizing that you fucked up, admitting you fucked up. They put out a video explaining the plan to turn the game around. They had a calendar, a timeline of what they were going to do. And as far as I know, they did deliver on all their promises. Some of the stuff I want in the game is not quite there yet. We haven't had the 3rd faction yet. We don't have vehicles yet. But they did really reverse, and not only just reverse the nerfs, but also buff in the other way. So I was actually quite surprised. The difference was really noticeable. A lot of the things I really enjoyed, like flame effects, are powerful again. Some of the most popular shotguns are good again. One of the pistols got like a mega buff, and it's like really good against heavily armored enemies, which is great. Just, they did like a bunch, like at least 30, if not more, really and this is not just like a 0.01 increase. Like it was like noticeable. You're like, oh wow, this gun feels much stronger than it did last time. And it's great. Like it's fun. I've been dipping back in. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I put it down for like probably at least 2 months. I had about 200 hours into it. And then it just got so fucking nerf heavy. I couldn't stand it anymore. So I dropped off. And then I came back once I heard about all the buffs and stuff. And I really do think they are taking it back in the right direction. A game's got to be fun. Like, give me challenge, make me work for it. Make me feel like I did something or earned something. I'm not opposed to putting hard work into a game when I feel like it's deserved. But some of those nerfs were just like out of control, man. They was just like, you might as well just throw your fucking right hand into a meat grinder if you're right-handed. I guess do your left if you're lefty, but whatever. It just was terrible, but I'm glad they're finally turning around. I'm coming back to the game. I'm playing maybe like once a day, and I'm having fun. I'm not putting like tons and tons of time into it, but I am coming back, which is better than doing literally nothing at all, which I was doing. So kudos. I was going to say chudos. That doesn't make sense. I was going to say cheers, and then I was going to say kudos, and it was almost going to come out as chudos. I don't think I like chudos though. I think I'm going to stick with kudos or cheers. I don't think that portmanteau works for me. So anyway, no chudos, but I will say cheers and kudos to Helldivers 2 for those buffs. So if you dropped off like I did and you got sick of having your ass handed to you in 17 different pieces, might be a good time to go back and reevaluate what they've done. I think it's all going in the right direction for sure. All right, let's get into the main portion of the show here. It's kind of a lighter week in terms of brand new games, but I think these are all quite good. So I think quality will make up for quantity this week. First up is Rogue Sentry, coming from Maple Dev and East Asia Soft. This is a 2D top-down twin-stick shooter basically black and white, and it's kind of really old school in this presentation, but I think it's appealingly so. If you are familiar with the older days of gaming, Atari and stuff like that, it's not as basic as that, but kind of like that same basic feel. You play as a droid robot. Basically, the story is that humans create robots, robots go crazy, robots kill people. You know how this goes. It's doing like the whole Skynet Terminator thing. But one of the robots decides that killing humanity is not the right thing. And so he goes rogue, and he is the rogue sentry of the title. So you take control of the rogue, and you are inside this giant square building divided up into like many, many rooms. I don't know how many rooms it is, maybe like 100 rooms or 200 rooms. I'm not sure how many. I didn't count. But there's a lot of rooms, and you move with your left stick, you shoot with your right stick. It's pretty basic and straightforward. But the cool thing about this, and I do think it's cool, I actually like this game a lot. I think it's quite good. Once you figure out what's going on, is that you get little story scenes from the ghosts of humans that are no longer alive, which is really funny because they look like little Pac-Man ghosts. It's kind of funny. But you're going from room to room, and the rooms are all interconnected. You're basically inside this giant block of rooms that form together a giant like headquarters, or I don't know, human processing plant, or whatever it's supposed to be. But you go from room to room, and there's like gates, and there's locked doors, and there's one-way conveyor belts, and there's energy fields, and there's tons of like guns and turrets. And once the AI that controls the whole thing knows you're going rogue, everybody turns against you. So you're going through this giant fortress, working your way through it, trying to find any humans that are left alive. And many of them are not. So you hear their story when you find their ghosts. And then you are kind of like dodging, bullets from enemies in kind of like bullet hell fashion. It's not as bad as bullet hell. I haven't come across anything that bad, but it's like each room is like a little mini puzzle where you're shooting enemies. And once you clear out a room, it stays clear, which is actually pretty awesome. So you can feel a sense of progression as you're making your way through this fortress room by room. And it has you like doubling back. Sometimes there's a one-way path, and sometimes you got to go only a certain direction, and then you unlock a thing and then you can come back. Or sometimes doors open and whatnot. So it's kind of like this giant interconnected, huge pack, like this honeycomb of rooms. And you're kind of just like going through it, shooting guys and enjoying the lo-fi graphics and kind of making your way towards the ultimate goal of, crushing whatever AI is in charge and saving any humans that are left. So pretty straightforward, very arcadey, very action-based. And I will say in the beginning, a little bit more tutorial, or at least getting you off on the right foot, would be good. It takes a couple rooms before you get the map, and I will say that was crucial, because as I started the game, you do not have the map right away, and you don't even know that there is a map. But you walk around, you go through rooms, and you get lost like pretty quickly. You're like, damn, these rooms are all like leading one into another, and I'm not sure where I'm at. I'm not sure where I'm going. What is even happening? But you eventually meet a ghost who's like, oh, yo, let's help you out. Let's get a map. You got to find it. It's pretty close. You find it like 2 rooms later or whatever. I don't even know if it's possible to miss it. I guess it's possible to miss it, or maybe it's not. I'm not sure. But you're going to find it probably. Even with a little bit of diligence, you'll find the map. And as soon as you get the map, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm not just like wandering around. This isn't just a randomly arcadey sort of a shooty shoot thing. Oh, there's like a whole like quest to this. There's a whole larger purpose. And I'm like, okay, once you get the map and once you understand the shape of what's happening, pretty cool. I really dig this one a lot. I think Rogue Sentry is awesome. I'm going to be chipping away at this. I'm playing it a little bit every day. A couple rooms here and there, kind of going through. And I will say it's very generous with the save points. You are going to die. They don't set you too far back. It's really good. And the map just kind of like guides you through. So basically all you got to do is look for rooms you haven't been to yet, and the story just kind of like unfolds from there. So very arcadey with a smash of a story and sci-fi within it. And I think the overall design is great once it reveals itself, and it's just very, very fun. I'm really liking it a lot. Playing it on PlayStation, I believe. I think it's on basically everything right now. But this is a winner. If you like arcadey, top-down, twin stick, maybe retro / old school, action-y sort of a thing, this one is really good. It is much better than appearances would lead you to believe, possibly. And it's even better than the first couple minutes would lead you to believe, because once you know what's happening, you're like, yes, this is good stuff. So thumbs up, big thumbs up to Rogue Sentry. Having a great time with this one. Really dig it a lot. Okay, next up is Stilt Fella, Fella. This comes to us from Pineapple Works and September Games, playing it on the PS5. This one is a hoot and a holler, let me tell you. This is one of those physics torture games where you have to have like the patience of a saint and like the motor control of like, you know, a savant to be able to get through this. But man, it's actually really good and really fun. I know, full disclosure, I do like those physics torture games if they are tuned well and done well. And this one certainly is. The premise, as you might guess from the title, is you play a guy on stilts. He's just like a roly-poly guy made of like basic polygons. Like his body's like a circle and his head's another circle. And the graphics are really basic or whatever. But that's fine. You don't need like fancy graphics for this. And the whole point of it is that you are walking on stilts. Everything you do is on stilts. Now, when you watch the trailer for this game, you're like, oh yeah, that looks fine. Kind of fun. I bet you wiggle the sticks around and, you know, that'll be goofy, good time. No! Fuck you. No, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Crazy? Think it's going to be that easy? What are you, nuts? I was. Oh my God. This game is so fucking hard. It's like, it threw me into like despair and depression. But I loved it. It's weird because the controls are not just physics controls. Because when you look at the video, you see this guy on stilts. You're thinking, your brain says, okay, left stick is going to be left stilt. And right stick is going to be right stilt, and I probably will push forward to move my left stick forward, or my left stilt forward, and I'll push the right stick forward to get the right stilt forward. No! No, 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 no. That's not what they do at all. And it wrecks my brain. It does not make any sense to me because what you need to do is, yes, left stilt is left stick, right stilt is right stick. Sorry, it's hard to say that. But you are balancing. Also, not just moving the stilts. So I have been on stilts before. It's been a long time. It's been many, many years. And as I was playing this game, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Are they trying to actually approximate the feeling of being on stilts? I think maybe that's what they're doing because when you start off the game and the guy's on his stilts, you stand there. If you don't pull one of the triggers, so left trigger is raise your left foot and right trigger is raise your right foot. If you move the sticks but do not pull a trigger, you do not lift your stilt off the ground, it leans your guy forward. So pushing forward leans him forward, pushing back leans him back. So what happens is you need to balance by moving the sticks, but also the movement is also on the stick. And so you pull the trigger. Let's say, for example, you pull the left trigger. And then your body, I swear to God, your body is going to want to push that trigger forward or the stick forward. That's the opposite of what you should do. Every fiber of your being is saying, push that left stick forward. And that is the wrong thing. You will fall down and fuck yourself so hard. But what you need to do is, number one, get your balance. So leave the stilts in the ground, balance your character. Once he's balanced, you pull the trigger to lift up whatever stilt you want to move. And then you have to move the stick backwards. So it's almost like you're moving the stilt on a lever so that if you pull back on the top of the stick, which is where your hand would be in real life, it moves the bottom of the stilt forward, like you're tilting the whole thing. That makes sense in reality. That makes sense with how stilts work, but it fucks with your brain so hard because as gamers, as people who hold controllers every day, as people who've played these games, it doesn't seem like it should work that way, but that's the way that it does. And it took me forever to break out of that mentality of like, stop moving the fucking stick forward because you're just crashing. I would crash like 100 times in a row. I'm like, stop doing it. Stop doing it. I couldn't stop doing it. My body, my hand, everything about it was like, push that stick forward. And it's like, no, you cannot do that. It took me forever to not give in to that impulse. It's so hard. But I will say, once you get over that impulse, and you will, because you're a good gamer. I know you are. You got skills. I know. I've seen you. When you get over that impulse and you finally teach yourself to be like, no, balance with one hand while you move the opposite way with the other, so that you eventually kind of do like almost like roughly like a scissors motion with your hands. Like one thumb will go forward and the opposite thumb will go back, and then switch, vice versa. Then you're like, oh, here we go. I'm stilting. I'm walking forward. It's moving, y'all. It's working. So I eventually got to the point that I got it. I'm like, okay, I get it. My brain is kind of on track. Doesn't mean that it's super easy because they give you all these obstacles. At first, it's like you're just walking straight, but then it's like, here's some stairs. Here's a walkway with potholes in it. Here's a gap you got to get over. Here's one where you're on a fucking catapult and you got to balance while you're being flung off this fucking catapult. They do all sorts of weird physicsy shit that would just be impossible. But it ends up being really fun. And I think this game is really well made. Hell of a learning curve. Hell of a learning curve. But I think it's well made. That was a me issue, not a game issue. And I will say that there seems to be quite a bit of content here. I'm struggling with this because it's difficult, but I'm still in it. I've made my way through the first set of levels, and what happens is you unlock different modes. Now, I don't know what other modes are here. I didn't cheat. I didn't look ahead. But I'm looking at the next mode I got, and it was Jet Fella. So what happens is you're still on stilts, but you get jetpacks on the end of your stilts, and the whole game is different. It's like a whole second game in there where you're not walking with the stilts anymore. You activate your jets, you boost up, and then you have to manage the jets in the air to kind of push yourself back, push yourself forward, kind of hold still by like navigating like the thrust that you've got going on. Also physics, also difficult, but it's amazing how much they've put in this game and how much content is here. I really think it's amazing. It's very fun. I'm having a great time with it, even though I fucking hate it and it's so hard and I want to like throw my controller, but it's also a great time. Stilt Fella, definite thumbs up, especially if you like those physics torture games. And, you know, God damn it, I do. I hate myself for liking them, but I really do like them. So this is something, if you like anything like struggling or whatever that one is where the guy's in the cauldron and he's like got the hammer or whatever. I forget. Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It, I think it is. There's been a bunch of other ones too recently where you're like climbing. I think Markiplier did a whole series on this one where he was like climbing a mountain. Any of those physicsy ones, you know what I'm talking about. This is what that is. It's tough, but it's also really fun. I gotta say I'm having a great time with it. So Stilt Fella, very good stuff. All right, last game of the show is Thronefall. I believe this came out on PC a while ago, but it just made it to the Switch. Not sure about other platforms. And this comes to us from, I believe, Grizzly Games? Yes, Grizzly Games. So Grizzly like the bear, Grizzly. And just as a quick side note, it always kind of irritates me, you know, as an editor and as a writer, it always kind of like is a burr under my saddle when someone confuses the two grizzlies, right? So there's Grizzly, which means grizzled, old, gray. That applies to the bear. And Grisly, grizzly, which is like bloody, gory, violent. And people kind of flip-flop on those. I guess people don't know that there's actually two versions of that word and they mean totally different things. But anyway, the joy of being an editor, I guess. I have all this information bouncing around inside my head. So Thronefall, spoilers, excellent game. This is a top-down, kind of like a tower defense-ish, and it's also an active tower defense. And if you've listened to the show, you know I do like active tower defense. What is active tower defense, Brad? Well, I'm glad you asked. Tower defense is the traditional, like enemies come in from predetermined locations. They try to swarm your base, and you put towers up along their routes in order to stop them. Active tower defense is the exact same thing, except in addition to all that, you have an avatar that you can move around to shore up your weak areas. So if you forget to put a tower down, or maybe the guns from one tower aren't reaching quite far enough, or maybe some enemies break through your defenses, you can run over there and take them out yourself rather than simply watching your base go down and being mad about it and feeling powerless. I think regular tower defense is very, very disempowering as a genre. It's fine when things are going well, but as soon as something goes wrong and you can't fix it, it drives me crazy. But active tower defense is the perfect remedy for that, and so I really appreciate it as a genre. Anyway, Thronefall. It reminds me a little bit of Kingdom in some ways, just kind of like conceptually. You are a ruler of a land, king or queen or monarch or emperor or whatever. You're like a tiny, tiny, tiny little person on a tiny, tiny, tiny little horse. And you are in this area. And what you can do is you get some coins, and you start off with your initial coins. You build a castle. You know, the castle will be like, oh, it's an empty field, and you pay 3 coins, and then a castle pops up. And then once you build a castle, it opens up the next tier of buildings. And usually it's like a guard post where you can select different troops to populate it, or there's like a guard tower, which means like somebody will be up there sniping enemies from a distance. So you go in and you set up your defenses. Now, the thing I like about this is it's very discreet when it comes to the phases. So in the beginning, when you are just setting up your area, this is the daytime, no time limit. You take as much time as you want. You can run around the whole area, and the areas are not huge, but you can run around, you can look at all your options, I'm playing this on Switch, and if you hold the left bumper, I think it is, it'll show you every possible building you can build that's been unlocked for you so far. So if you're not sure about like, what are my options? Where can I go? What should I build next? You just hold the button and then all these little phantom outlines of the buildings show up, and it's like really easy to read, very good information. So you're like, oh, okay, I can build an outpost over here. I can do a tower over here, or I can build a wall over here, whatever. And then you also have to build houses so that these houses give you money, and other buildings give you money as well. So it's kind of a balance between taking the money you have during the daytime, choosing which defenses you're going to need to protect yourself from the next wave of enemies, which will come in the nighttime, and also investing in income buildings like houses or farm fields or something like that, which must be protected, but those give you more money in order to further reinforce your defenses. Pretty standard formula, but it actually works really well. And I think this is a great example of a formula that just executes everything like perfectly. You know, now that I think about it, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a cross between Kingdom and Bad North, if you know Bad North. There's a lot of similarity, a lot of crossover there. I don't know if anybody's involved. It's probably a completely different team, but like if you mash those two games up, you kind of would get Thronefall here. So I like that you just take as much time as you want. You can really think about your choices. The game tells you exactly what the next enemies are. Maybe they're flying, maybe they're heavies, maybe they're creeps, maybe they're knights, whatever. They tell you exactly what they are and where they're coming from. And if you don't remember what they do, you can pause go into a menu. It tells you exactly what they do. These guys are flying. These guys are armored. These guys are weak to arrows. These guys are weak to sword or whatever. So it gives you like full information, and you're in no rush at all to do whatever you want with that information, which I fucking appreciate like crazy, because I do not like being rushed when I'm playing a tower defense like this. I think it kind of adds to that feeling of disempowerment where you don't have enough time. And then if you don't have an avatar, you just have to sit there and watch your towers go down, your base get overrun. The whole thing sucks. So they do that. And whenever you feel like you're ready, you hit a button, night falls, and then action begins. And so the enemies stream in just where they said they were going to. You can watch your defenses, knights, archers, pikemen, towers, walls, spiky things on the ground, whatever you set up, it'll go into effect. Now, this actually goes one step further than active tower defense, because not only can you as the ruler run around and you have a choice of weapons. So far, I think I've unlocked a bow and a dagger, so you can shoot guys from a distance and also stab them when you get up close. You can get a pike or something like that, pole arm of some kind, and that like slows guys down when you stab them. I think there's also, I want to say a mace, perhaps. I could be imagining that, but you have a series of different weapons. But anyway, the game goes one step further, because you can not only move yourself, but you can also move your troops. So let's say, for example, you set up a bunch of archers on the left side of the map, and the archers took care of business, but now they're sitting around nothing to do. You can call them over. So you can move them to like the east side of the map if you need backup. You can move them around, and so you're not locked into your choices. So not only do you have all the time in the world to think about what you want to do, if something goes sideways in the middle of a battle, you can move things around. Now, the guy's got to walk over there, and they don't usually attack when you're walking unless you have a specific perk or whatever. So it's not perfect. I mean, it really does behoove you to think about things carefully and tactically, and you want to have as much in place before the wave starts. That is absolutely to your benefit. But if something goes wrong, you misjudge, or something goes better than you think, and you want to reallocate resources, or you need some reinforcements where you didn't think you were going to need any, you can like basically move anybody who can be moved, yourself or your troops, which is again really, really great. Love this a lot. So this is a very well executed, very playable, easy to understand formula. The other cool thing about this is that each map, and there are several, in addition to I think an endless mode as well, so there's no shortage of content here, but each map has different conditions, and so you have different goals. Like first is just beat the level, but then it's like beat the level by using this weapon or by not using this weapon. And there's also a bunch of perks and modifiers. When you finish a level, you get some experience, you can go back into the menu, and there's like a cajillion mutators and modifiers and perks. Some for your guy, like you can change the weapon you're using. There's also a whole bunch of like stuff that like are to your benefit, so you can turn these on and off. I believe you can have 5 on at once, and altogether I think there's like 50 of them. They're not all unlocked from the beginning. You got to unlock them as you go, but I think so far I've got maybe like 15 of these unlocked. It's like, oh, your buildings have 50% more health because they're more durable, or maybe your troops run 20% faster. Or you do 80% more damage, but you take 80% less damage. You know, there's all sorts of perks like that. And then there's also the mutators for the enemies, where it's like, oh, this enemy is 100% more durable, but he gives you 50% more experience when you defeat him. Or these enemies move faster, these enemies move slower, whatever. So each level has not only just a completion, but also a completion with these other conditions. And, you know, some of them you're not going to be able to do right away. You'll see them, they'll be really tough. You're going to have to like unlock some different weapons, unlock some different perks, come back and keep trying. So if you're a completionist, there's lots of stuff to dig into here. And also just doing those gives you more experience to unlock further perks. And there's just like literally like a shitload, an actual shitload in this game. So I think Thronefall is pretty great. I will say the graphics are pretty much directly overhead, and I think it works well. I'm playing on the Switch, and it is pretty small. Now, the text and stuff is all good. I can read the text, no problem. I think the text is fine. But the characters and the units are all very small. You do have 2 levels of zoom, so you can zoom in, but also the situational awareness goes away when you zoom in. So it's kind of like a balancing act. How much do you need to see, and how large do you need things to be? I think it works pretty well. It's smooth as silk on the handheld, but I will say, just a heads up, when I did plug it into the dock to play it on my giant TV, the frame rate did take a hit. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't unplayable at all, but like it just wasn't as smooth as the handheld. So just know that, and I hope that Nintendo realizes that's a problem and fixes it for the Switch too. But if you do plan on playing on the big screen, it does... I don't even want to say it chugs. It doesn't chug, but like... it's just not as smooth and as silky as it is during handheld. So just know that. If you're going to like buy this game with the intention of playing it on a big screen from the get-go, definitely maybe get it for PC instead. But if you're going to do it in handheld, I think it does work great on the Switch. I'm having no problems with it. I think it's a lovely port. And I think overall, Thronefall is just a lovely experience. All the games I covered today have just been fucking great. It's one of those magical weeks when everything just falls into place. All the stars align. Energy in the universe is good. And all the games I played are just real bangers, man. I think they're great. So Rogue, Sentry, Stilt Fella, and now Thronefall, all absolute winners. Thumbs up for sure. All right, folks, game portion of the show is now officially done, but like most humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, it is time for the TV and movie roundup. First up is a movie called Splice. This was... I think Guillermo del Toro was a producer, but it wasn't really his jam, although you can kind of see his fingerprints on it. This was I thought it was going to be like a horror movie, and I've heard about it a lot, but it ended up being not really a horror movie, but kind of like more sci-fi and also kind of a parenting movie in some ways. Basically, these two genetic splicing geniuses are trying to do like bio research, and they decide to use human genes to kind of, do whatever thing they're doing. And they create this like human animal hybrid that is intelligent. And at first they kind of treat it like an experiment, but then it kind of becomes like a person and they don't know what to do with it. And so you have all these ethical questions, and then they have questions about how they want to be parents and how what they do affects this creature. And does it have rights? Does it not have rights? Is it a person? Is it not a person? It was pretty cool. And I got to say, the effects of the creature itself, really impressive. When it first comes out, like as a small being, oh man, the eyes were just like wigging me out so hard. And it almost looks like real. Like when you kind of look at it, you squint your eyes a little bit. The CGI they did was quite good, and they mixed that with the actors who were doing the role. And it was very convincing and very creepy. Excellent film. I thought it was quite good. Really enjoyed it a lot. Next, we watched Urban Legend. It's from the 90s. This was about a serial killer who takes his victims out in the methods that were made popular by very common urban legends, such as the killer who's hiding in the backseat of a car, or what else? Like somebody eating Pop Rocks and drinking Coke and exploding their stomach, or saying Bloody Mary 7 times into a mirror or whatever. Kind of a cool idea, but the movie actually really sucked hard. They did not stick very closely to the premise. They took lots of shortcuts and kind of bent the rules quite a bit. And when we finally got to the reveal of who the killer was, I was like, well, that's dumb. That didn't make a lot of sense. It was not very satisfying. The kills weren't very good. It wasn't really well written. So in case you're looking for something to stay away from Urban Legend. Switching over to, let's see, any other movies? Oh yeah. One more movie? movies. Many more movies? I don't know. I'm burning out here, folks. Just saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and in preparation, my family just watched all of the Deadpool movies over the course of 2 weeks. We watched Deadpool 1, still good, enjoyed that. Watched Deadpool 2, also quite good. Lots of action, funny, irreverent, sassy. But Deadpool and Wolverine, the third, it was boring and tedious, and it was just one movie too far. I feel like the guardrails were taken away, and there was perhaps no oversight. There was just a lot of number one, from the get-go, the premise was not good. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but they really lean very heavily on the TVA element of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you're not familiar with that, it's the Time Variance Authority, which was the Marvel planners' way of getting other characters into the MCU that have not been in the MCU before. Not going to get in the weeds here, but basically, many different people owned many different rights to different characters, and now that Marvel is so successful, they're kind of buying them all back and trying to reunify their properties. And so, for example, the X-Men, one of the biggest properties, was owned by Fox or somebody like that. And so the MCU wanted to get those rights back, and I think they hashed out a deal. But it was like, how do you explain all these years of movies where you've got Captain America and the Hulk and the Avengers and Ant-Man and all that stuff, but we've never seen a single mutant? It doesn't, I think they were concerned that people would, or nerds, I guess, neckbeards, whatever, would flip if all of a sudden mutants just showed up out of nowhere. So they went through this whole rigmarole of the TVU, which is looking at alternate universes and metaverses and merging different timelines. And honestly, it was a pile of horseshit. It was just a bunch of nonsense that was an excuse for something that I don't think really needed that much of an excuse. And it got really tedious and boring. And I was really tired of it. And I wish they would just get off of it. And Deadpool and Wolverine leans, the entire movie is based on the TVU stuff, which I was very disappointed by. I was really, I can't get away from this stuff fast enough. It was a dumb premise to begin with that doesn't really jive with stuff they've already established previously. And even beside that, it was just very poorly written. I don't think the premise was strong. Hugh Jackman comes back as Wolverine and he's fine, but it's basically a carbon copy of what he does in Logan, where he feels like a loser and he's tired and he's worn out. He kind of does the exact same thing here. And besides that, I just found it to be really puerile and immature in a way that which sounds weird when you try to apply that to Deadpool, because that's kind of his whole personality, but it just was something too far. It just went too far in this one. In the opening scene, he stabs 19 guys in the dick, and there's tons and tons and tons of blowjob jokes, way too many. It almost feels like the people who were writing the jokes were, I don't know, trying to say something about themselves, or trying to work through their homophobia or something. It just seemed really weird and inappropriate and not funny. And there's one time where this, Deadpool was in the middle of these guys, and it looked like they were kind of double teaming him, but he was stabbing them with Wolverine's claws. It was just this weird kind of, I don't know, man. It just did not work for me. I just think it was not a good premise. The jokes were not as funny. Some of the fight scenes went on for way too long. And I think overall it just wasn't a great film. And it was 2 hours too. I don't think a Deadpool movie ever has to be more than 90 minutes. I could have definitely done with 30 minutes less of that film. So thumbs down. I did not care for it, even though I do think the first 2 Deadpool movies are still pretty good. So, oh well, there you go. What else we got here? Skip this. No, skip this. I will say we started watching Teacup on Peacock. This is based on an 80s horror movie called Stinger. I think I might have mentioned it last week. We are going further in Teacup. We were almost going to bounce, but we gave it one more, and that was the episode that kind of put us over the top, where they kind of really got things going. You have to go about halfway through that series before things get good, which sucks, and I'm not really that guy. I don't often tell people just hang in there. And in fact, I'm not really recommending this either. I don't know that it's going to deliver, but we did hit a point where we felt better about watching it. We weren't just purely wasting our time, if you know what I mean. So Teacup is okay. Points for being based on a novel that I read in the 80s, but we'll see if it turns out. Let's see. Final recommendation is actually a great one. I want to end on a high note here. This is a movie, we saw it on Tubi, and it's called Gatlop, G-A-T-L-O-P-P. Gatlop, hell of a game. Stars John Bass and a couple of other people. And it's just a fantastic little movie. It is not AAA. No way is it AAA. But it's a little bit better than AA. It's like AA plus or double A, or I don't know, double A.1 or something like that, where they've got a pretty good budget, but it's not crazy. And it's also like a smaller film. It's only really like got 4 actors in it, and they stay in basically one location. So it's kind of like modest, but it's really good. Basically, it's like Jumanji. And if you don't know what Jumanji is, it's a board game where players get sucked into the world. Here, what happens is Gatlop is a game that forces you to confront your inner problems, like the lies you tell, your insecurities, your relationships with other people. It tries to like straighten you out. And if you go along with this and you agree to get straightened out by facing your deepest fears and your darkest secrets, then you win. If you do not go along with it, then everybody dies and you suffer horribly, and it's just really funny. The performances were great. I felt like they were very honest and real. They felt like real people that I would know. 4 people in a room doing an all-nighter, eating pizza and getting drunk and playing this game before things get crazy. And just seeing how the relationships worked, like how the friend circle was positive, but also there was a lot of negativity as well, and people had to face that. Like bad things people had done to each other that they had to own up to. And it was just really funny too. There was lots of laughs, lots of crazy stuff. I think Gatlop was excellent. I really liked it a lot. I liked that kind of movie. I liked that kind of vibe. It really just hit dead on the mark for me. And if you are interested in that one, I've talked about this before, but I would put Gatlop in the exact same bucket that I would put Dave Made a Maze. If you haven't seen Dave Made a Maze, go fucking watch it literally right now. Pause the show. Go watch it. Go see it. I love Dave Made a Maze. And it's exactly that same like AA+1, you know, like B movie +1 or something like that, where they spent all their budget on the sets and stuff, but it really pays off. And Dave Made a Maze, a guy is having problems in his life, feeling insecure, feeling like he's going nowhere. And so to get away from it, he decides to build a cardboard fort in his living room. But the fort gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes like this like extra dimensional space. And then he's trapped inside of it, and all his friends are trapped inside of it. And it's just like this entire world of like crazy cardboard cutouts and props and moving things. And it's just fucking absolutely fantastic. I mean, watch it for the sets, if nothing else, but it's also a genuinely great movie. And I think Dave Made a Maze and Gatlop are basically cut from the same cloth. Really, really like this vibe. Great stuff. Thumbs up big time for both of those. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music kicks in, I would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend So Many Games to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And if you want to support the show and help the cost to run this podcast, you can do that. Do that just like the marvelous Dave C. did. He kicked in. You can kick in too if you like. Don't have to, but if you do, I'd appreciate it. If you want to do that, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. And if you want to join the Discord and continue this conversation, that is absolutely free of charge. As always, I do want to get your questions and comments. Hit me up in the So Video Games Discord, or you can email me directly, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach me on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's. No O's, and this is going to do it for episode 412. Thank you so much again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and we'll see you next week.